what does it mean to be a Jew in a world right now where we're so aware that people hate us if we don't know why we love ourselves? If I can figure out a way to help other Jews love themselves as a Jew, if I can crack that code, David, if I can, and I can really make an impact, then it's all in God's hands.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Schmoozing Time, the only podcast inspiring proud Jews to build their personal brands and make an impact with their Jewish identity. I'm your host, David Cobby, and trust me, you are in for a phenomenal conversation today. Before we jump in, take a second to follow the show on whatever platform you're listening on. That way, you'll never miss an episode packed with wisdom, inspiration, and of course, the best schmoozing in the world. This week's episode, we are going to dive into a question that seems so simple, but is really unique to everyone. What does it mean to be a full-time Jew? For some, it's about going to synagogue, keeping kosher, observing Shabbat, davening 3 times a day. But for others, it's something completely different. My guest today is someone who has built an incredible brand for herself while staying true to her Jewish values as a full-time Jew. She has tried and succeeded at a ton of different things, including entrepreneurship, being a TEDx speaker, working as a financial professional, and writing as a freelance journalist. But through every stage of her journey that has been vastly different, one thing has never changed. She has always remained a proud full-time Jew. I'm beyond excited to welcome to this week's episode the incredible Audrey Jacobs to the show. Audrey, how are we doing today?
Thank God. Very well, David. I wish my mother heard that introduction.
Well, your mother will hear the introduction when you send the episode, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'll have to send it to her. Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much, David, for having me on Schmoozing Time. Okay, so let me ask you, where did you first hear that phrase, full-time Jew?
I wonder where I first heard that phrase, full-time Jew. Maybe it was a couple weeks ago when we were on the phone and you were like, wait a second, that's a great phrase. And I had never conceptualized what that meant. And it's still, I think it's a little unclear to me. And because you're the originator of full-time Jew, I feel like I can't even touch on the subject without having you speak first. So Audrey, what does being a full-time Jew mean to you? I know you put it in your LinkedIn bio, like it's there set in stone. Nobody's taken that from you.
I have to say the beauty of schmoozing, Jews talking, is that great ideas come to life. So even just inviting me to this podcast, in our initial conversation, when you said, can you boil down who you are in a few words? It came to me. I'm a full-time Jew, which means in everything I do in my life, especially engaging in the non-Jewish world, is I am in my mind and in my soul, first and foremost, a full-time Jew. I am mindful of the fact that I'm a loud and proud Jew, that people know that I'm Jewish, and that everything I do and say represents the Jewish people. And we have a phrase for that, of course, and Kiddush Hashem, which means bringing a blessing upon the Jewish people, is meaning that when you are known to be a Jew, you are known that you actually take on that responsibility, that we are here and we are the chosen people because we were chosen to do the hard work, which is to elevate and uplift all of humanity and all of society, including taking care of our own. So anyway, I'm so excited and grateful for you to help me create that. Of course, I trademark it right away, and we'll have to figure out what that means together. But I'll tell you the first thing that it means to me right now is when I said responsibility, right? So responsibility as a Jew. You've heard of the whole concept of being 10% happier, right? Have you heard about that? Okay. So New York Times journalist Bret Stephens on an interview said every Jew post October 7th should strive to be 10% Jewier, right? And so I've been looking for ways to step up, even though I do so much in the Jewish community, and I'm excited to share with you the different things I do. But right now, and I know I'm going to send this to my mom, I'm running for Congress, not
Ah,
the US Congress, but the Jewish Congress, the World Zionist Congress, which before I was invited to be a part of the Aish Ha'am slate, I didn't even know what it was. I was embarrassed. Like, as a strong and proud Zionist, I did not know what the World Zionist Congress does. So I started researching it. I'm like, well, Theodore Herzl created this in 1897 with the goal of creating the state of Israel. And after it was created, the World Zionist Congress never went away. And still today, just like the Knesset, it's a governing body that governs where $1 billion goes every year to support Jewry worldwide, not just in Israel, but throughout the world, supporting Jewish unity, fighting anti-Semitism, Jewish education, supporting Israel. And so right now, between now and May, and I'll pull up my maybe can we put on post editing? Can we put on the vote h.com
like the vote button, like the click? Yes.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Can we
Oh,
do
of course.
on the post editing? Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have the how to vote. So basically, any Jew over age 18 in the United States is eligible to vote, and there are, I think, around 20 something slates, and I'm on the Aish Ha'am slate, which is slate number 10. And I'm on their slate because I love Aish, and they asked me, but more than anything, because they truly, of all the slates, are the one that are truly about Jewish unity. That every Jew of every perspective and every level of observance and every political stripe is welcome. And the Aish Ha'am slate is full of around about 30 to 40% are college students and young leaders. And so I'm really proud that like the future of the Jewish people can be led by the future of the Jewish people. So anyway,
Yes.
we'll put that in post-production, how to vote. So
Yes.
that's my first step at being 10% Jewier in my being a full-time Jew.
I love it. Well, Audrey, thank you for plugging yourself and for promoting yourself. I think a lot of my guests, when they come on here, they're like, oh, I don't want to talk about cool things that I'm doing, or I don't want to promote. Like, no, come on here and brag.
My mother's gonna watch this.
Exactly. Like, I don't understand it. Like, yes, there's a difference between being show-offy and doing what you just did, like doing what's right and promoting yourself, right? But people need to get out of this like headspace of like, oh, I'm doing something cool, but I don't want to talk about it because like I'm scared and I don't know. Like, thank you for doing that.
They've not read this book.
Oh, what book is that?
So this book is called The God-Powered Life: Awakening to Your Divine Purpose by Rabbi David Aaron.
Okay.
My Havruta partner, my Torah study partner, and I are reading it, and it's very interesting. There's a whole section here. There's a couple of chapters ago that I read, which was about the big ego or the big soul, and basically, if you have clarity that God has given you these gifts to serve humanity, then you should be unapologetic about your gifts and your strengths, and know that like it's not ego. Ego stands for edge God out. Okay, that's what ego stands for. Ego is about the idea that you think it's all you, right? As long as you understand everything is from God, and you're here to serve God and serve humanity, then all the plugging I'm going to do, it's not plugging. It is, I'm serving God. I'm being a full-time Jew.
You mentioned something about an awakening. And I know for you, your Jewish, let's call it journey or adventure, kind of had an awakening at some point in time. So I want you to talk about your Jewish awakening and how you became more connected with Judaism over time.
So that's a great question, David. So I grew up, I'm a sixth generation Dallas Texan Jew, and I grew
Mm,
up very reformed. Our family was very involved in the largest reformed temple, Temple Manuel in Dallas. And I think like Dafka, I think Shabbat lunches, please, I don't want to misquote, but like there was definitely food that you would not be surprised to see at a synagogue. It was very reformed, but it gave me such the being part of the synagogue. My
hmm
grandmother was on the board for many involved in many years. It gave me such a sense of Jewish identity and pride. And especially it doesn't hurt to grow up in the South where you're called a kike and a pig and a
hmm
dirty Jew and all those things. It gives you a sense of like, you better have a sense of, well, if people hate me, I should know why. But I was involved in like BBYO and Jewish youth groups, but it wasn't until I moved to San Diego where when I was to go to college, and I'm still here now. And I started a Jewish singles group because even though I wasn't necessarily Orthodox, I was from the South and you had to be married at 25. Um, I was fortunate enough to marry someone who had gone to an Orthodox Jewish day school in San Diego, Swall San Diego Hebrew Day School. I think even before we were even married, maybe we were just engaged, she took me to a fundraiser for the Hebrew Day School. And I had never met an Orthodox person, and I was like terrified. And I met Rabbi Simcha Weiser, who's just now retired after 43 years as the headmaster, and he made me feel so welcome. And when we got married and we had kids, my real Jewish awakening was the 20 years that my three sons went to Orthodox Jewish day school. And I should say now, in terms of stepping up as a full-time Jew, this May, I'm going to be the co-chair for the annual gala for Hebrew Day School, honoring
Wow.
Rabbi Fisher's 43 years of service and honoring his beloved wife of blessed memory, Betty Weiser, and her years of teaching.
Amazing.
But really, I was so embarrassed, David. Like when the kids came home from school, in kindergarten with their Torah portion, the parsha sheets, like what they learned, I'd be like, oh my gosh, learning myself, and I learned through my kids.
Wow.
The community, when you're not on the East Coast where everybody, if you're Orthodox, go to Orthodox day school, everybody Orthodox. When you're on the West Coast, where like half the families are not observant,
hmm
everybody's welcoming and everybody's integrated. And so I was so brought in and I felt so in love with the Jewish education. I realized it wasn't, they weren't teaching my kids when I first, heard about like my husband wanted to send the kids to Orthodox Jewish day school. I'm like, are you crazy? Because I had no exposure. I thought it was all about brainwashing. I realized for me, when I saw my kids, they all were gaining a moral compass for life based on Torah values, right?
hmm
I see my sons now, they're grown, they're out in the world, and they're mentions. And I know it all comes from that Jewish education.
Wow. I think the word mensch, first of all, it's one of my favorite words, but I think there's a lot to be said there about there's a misconception about Orthodox Judaism, and it's not just from the outside community. And I talk about this on a lot of episodes. A lot of the criticism about the Orthodox Jewish people comes from within the Jewish community. How do you feel about all this criticism surrounding Judaism from within the Jewish community?
Honestly, to me, if I got caught up in that noise, that's just pure distraction. All I can do is try to bring people together, right? And try to have conversations. So, like, for example, this Sunday night, I'm hosting a screening of the documentary Frontline Warriors. It was produced by Aish about three college students at UCLA and Harvard and Columbia were on the front lines fighting Jew hatred. And
hmm
then I'm moderating a panel of two pro-Israel students from UCSD and two from SDSU, our local universities that are very active, and really talking about what's happening on our campuses. And then I'm opening it up in discussion to the community. And of course, I'm feeding everybody. But one of the things when I was interviewing the students and preparing them for this, what we were talking about was about how positive it is on campus, how all these different Jewish organizations from every single flavor are all coming out to support the students on campus, how positive they feel, and how much good they're doing, especially in terms of outreach to non-Jews. And so, if I think, that idea of the echo chamber, I think if we got caught up with Jews criticizing Jews, like that would just be a negative hole that I would just get lost in. And so I want to try to be positive, and I want to be part of that positive conversation. That's why for the last 4 years, I was president of the board of Partners in Torah, which is a 32-year-old organization that matches any Jew who wants to learn with any Jew who wants to teach. Okay.
Wow.
It matches you and you learn for free. So during COVID, I learned about it. I saw an ad on Facebook. I signed up. I've been learning with my partner, Jessica Weiss, who lives in Florida, and she's an immigration attorney. And we learn every week. And it's beautiful because it takes out all that noise. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to Jewish wisdom. All the answers that we seek in our life are in our own liturgy, in our own heritage. It's in the Torah and all the commentary. I spent 2 years with Jessica studying Pirkei Avot, ethics of our fathers, because I wanted to know, if I'm going to be a full-time Jew, what does that mean? And I want to know, ethics of our fathers is all about, Judaism is all about how do we treat each other, right? Like I just had a situation this week where someone that I trusted, who was a trusted advisor, something happened that his behavior was very surprising to me. I was very disappointed. And what did I do? I looked at the mitzvah of the day, and the mitzvah of the day says, a Jew doesn't hold a grudge against another Jew. If a Jew pisses off another Jew, you tell him you pissed me off. Tell me why you did that. If they want to say they're sorry, they do. If they don't, fine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, our Jewish wisdom has the answers to everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right about that. And I love that you're like, one thing that I kind of stress with this podcast is I don't like to focus on the negative, right? Like that's not, I think we could sit here all day. And for example, like honestly, my question about Jews hitting each other from within, that was probably not a great topic to go around now that I'm saying this, but I like that you have like a very positive mindset about everything. And you're not somebody that's going to sit there and let stuff boil over. But then at the same time, you're not focusing on the negative, right? Like earlier you were saying how you appreciated and realized how on college campuses, which I just graduated from college in like literally 8-9 months ago. So I know how it was being a college student and being on campus and the rallying around each other, right? There's really like this sense of Jewish unity now, right? I mean, this podcast was born because of all this hatred. And I wanted to unite the Jewish community and inspire people to be proud of who they are and talk about who they are more routinely than pre-October 7th. Let's be real. So really this idea of like rallying around each other is what I love about the Jewish community. So it's hard to do this though, right? With that being said, like it's very, very difficult to do all of these things that you're doing, right? Like running for the World Zionist Congress, right? You're hosting all these events, and we're going to get into so much more that you're doing. So how do you stay positive throughout all of this? Like, it's not easy to stay positive, right? That we know that there's a lot of hate going on, but how do you remain positive throughout this entire Jewish journey? Let's call it.
I mean, again, the answer is in our tradition. I would say Shabbat dinner. Like every Friday, I'm grateful I have Shabbat dinner. Hopefully my kids will be there. Like they're not always there. My son just got married, and his wife is a
Mazel
member
tov.
at Congregation Bethel. So they're sometimes they have events and stuff. But for me, like it's literally baking challah. Every week when I'm baking challah, I feel connected. We've been here for 5,000 years. Like right now, like I don't know when the podcast is going to go live, but Purim is tomorrow, right? Purim is
Yes.
a holiday where, again, the king decreed that all the Jews will be killed. And then it just so happened he didn't know his wife was Jewish, and she revealed it and saved the Jewish people. And so in the darkness that we are, if you get literally, if you're kneading back in the dough of the roots of our tradition, you know we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And it's the lighting the Shabbat candles. It's being around the Shabbat dinner table with my loved ones. It's that's what grounds me and keeps me positive. And then also like I am not observant, but I every morning before I open my eyes, I do say Modeh Ani. I say the prayer, thanking God for returning, my soul to me. And then in the morning when I have my coffee, I journal, and
Wow.
it's so corny, but the gratitude journaling works. Just writing,
Absolutely.
thank you, God, and then and literally, when I have a moment to think, whether I'm driving or waiting in line, somewhere or whatever. And I mean, I'm in San Diego, like it's like I'm looking outside, it's beautiful, it's sunny, like, oh my God, like my life, like today I was having one of those days, like I have such an amazing life. I am
Yeah.
so lucky. And just as many moments of gratitude and thanking God, because none of this I created, right?
Hmm.
And there's plenty to be worried about. But it's for me, it's a two thing. It's grounding with Shabbat and it's gratitude.
Hmm. Do you think too many Jews take for granted that they're Jewish?
Do Jews take for granted for they're Jewish? I think it's more that Jews don't know what it means to be Jewish. That's why I think everybody
Mm,
should go to Torah and sign up and get a partner just to learn what does it mean to be a Jew. Like we didn't,
hmm.
so few of us had a Jewish education, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, I don't think they take it for granted. Like my 26-year-old son, Gabriel, he's has wanderlust like you've never seen. He
Hmm.
lives in Brooklyn, but he had lived before in Europe for a few years, and he was just like, I gotta get back to Europe. And so, when he travels to Europe, he's like, okay, and like I know he knows he can just go call the Chabad, right? But he's
Yes.
like, Mom, can you call your Chabad rabbi and see if he's friends with the Chabad rabbi in Geneva, because I'm going to be in Switzerland this Shabbos, so I can get like an extra special, piece of meat, whatever. And so like he understands because like again, like my kids went to Orthodox Jewish day school. They're grown. They're not observant, but they are knowledgeable and committed Jews and proud Jews. And so like wherever he goes in the world, he knows because he went to Jewish day school that if he goes to a Chabad, that he will be welcomed and he'll have a great meal and he'll meet people and he'll network and God willing, he finds a wife. But anyway, uh, only if you're exposed to it. So really, it's that 10% Jew year. What can you do to learn a little bit more about what it means to be a Jew? We don't take it for granted. We just don't know it. So, and it's Partners in Torah. I'm a really like, again, it's totally free. I think everybody should sign up and get a partner to learn 30 minutes a week. It totally changed my life. For me, the biggest thing that came out of it, after learning for 4 years, I mean, I learned so much, but and this is crazy to say, I don't even know if Jews are allowed to say this, but I don't worry anymore. I don't worry about it
What? What?
because when I first started, I wasn't really sure my relationship with God. And after a couple of years, I had emunah. I had faith, right? I believed in God, right? The last couple of years, leveled up. Bitachon.
Wow.
Rely on Hashem. Rely on God. Everything is from God, so I don't worry about anything. It's like when really nasty stuff happens, I'm like, okay, I've got to process. I've got to feel the feelings. What can I learn from this? How am I gonna? You only grow through pain and all that stuff. But like freaking out, I don't worry anymore, and that came from this true sense of learning just to rely on God. Like everything's from God. Like if Gabriel gets married, that's gotta come from God. It's not gonna come from me. And if he listens to this, he will be so mad. I once went to this yoga class in New York. He lives in New York, and the teacher was obviously Jewish, and Miriam, and she was so his type. And so I like went up to her afterwards. I'm like, "Are you single?" And show you a picture of my son. Like,
oh my goodness, Audrey, I need to learn your.
I didn't go through with it because I know he would have killed me. But I did, I did show her his Instagram.
Oh my goodness. I was just gonna say, like, I don't think forget about a single Jew. Forget about like being a Jewish mother and not worrying. I don't think there's a single Jew on this planet that has said what you just said. Not what, like, what, like, are you kidding me? Like, listen, if you look at like, I don't know how you could really measure anxiety, maybe by like heart rate or whatever, but if you look at like a Jewish person's heart rate relative to a given person that's not Jewish, oh my goodness, the anxiety that we have is crazy. But I think what you're saying is definitely what all Jews should think in theory, right? Like if you really think about it, if you are, and again, this could be a total disagreement statement. I like to say things that are controversial on this podcast, by the way. If you're truly proud to be Jewish, there has to be some connection with God, right? You have to believe that God is guiding you on some sort of path. Sure, we have free will, but you have to remember God is guiding you on some sort of path. And you have to remember that God puts obstacles in your way, that God does things that you might not see in the moment that are actually blessings in disguise in the future. So what you were saying about not being scared is actually not so ridiculous now that I'm saying it out loud, because if you're really not scared, that means you really believe in God. So I think there's definitely like a scale here where it's like you're either really, really scared and don't believe in God, or you believe in God and you're not scared. And it's something that I need to work on personally, of like not being scared and not stressing and not driving myself nuts over things that like I know are going to be okay. But
it's also, it's not all you. That goes back to ego. You can't push to make things happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can do your best and you can put the effort out there, but it's all from God, right? Like you can't, like, if you think you can control the outcome of things, that's ego. So also, like, that's been a lesson for me, David, just to like stop pushing so hard. Like, it's gonna come. And whatever is too hard, and you're pushing too hard, you gotta let it go. It's gonna come another way. It's gonna come another way.
Audrey, I trust your judgment 1,000,000%. And as I mentioned in our intro, like you've not only you've not only done so much in the Jewish community, but also your experience in the general business community as a whole has been off the charts. I mean, I threw out there that you're an entrepreneur. You had tons of experience in finance, whether it was on the wealth management side or the fundraising side, TEDx speaker, freelance journalist. Like there's so many things that you've done. And going back to what you just said right there, right? You can't control your outcome, right? 100% of the time, unfortunately, there are other external factors that control the outcome of a situation. So as somebody that's been so successful, not only in their Jewish life, but also outside of their Jewish life, right? You're living this life as a proud Jew, as a full-time Jew, doing things that aren't necessarily Jewish, right? How did this sit with you, right? Like, for example, TEDx, getting to that level of TEDx and leading those speeches. And I know people apply to speak to those like crazy. It must have been hard to even get your foot in the door there. So tell me about this. It wasn't?
That's a great story. And then I'll tell you from when I got my TEDx talk, and then now being a TEDx curator, and also kind of that balance of how very loud and proud Jew in the non-Jewish world, particularly in finance. But with TEDx, I'm a matchmaker. I call myself a master matchmaker. It's all from God, right? I literally get downloads. Like when I meet someone, I try to get a sense of like, who are you? Where do you want to be in the world? I asked you, like, what are your goals? Like, why are you doing this podcast? Like, how can I help you? Instead of just being your guest. And it comes to me, oh, you need to meet this person, and I've been fortunate, thank God, like I've introduced 14 couples that got married, but mostly I've, raised hundreds of millions of dollars between entrepreneurs and investors and nonprofits and donors, and then introducing people for friendship and anything. So my whole raison d'etre, one of my essence is I know that I'm here to connect people. I'm a master matchmaker. If I sit on a bus next to someone and talk to them and hear about their hopes and dreams, and right in that moment make an introduction to them and never see them again, but that introduction changes their lives. Like that's the power of like the mitzvahs that I do that are so not about me, and it's just serving God and connecting the world. Because like you connect two lives, you connect the world. So, but I fell in love with 10X, and in San Diego, years later, I happened to meet the founder of TEDx San Diego, which is one of the oldest and most prestigious TEDx licenses in the world. And I ended up getting involved. And when he retired, he passed the baton to me to become the curator. And that was in 2022. So this is coming on my 4th year. And I just produced my 4th show. And I will tell you, David, it is, as someone who's a very loud and proud Jew, and I'm loud and proud Jew on social media, this is very important for me to serve my own community, San Diego. And I'm very clear, this is my love letter to the city. I love my city. I've been here since I was 17. I always wanted to live in New York City, and that's still out there, or somewhere. But I love San Diego, and I believe San Diego has so many brilliant people that have ideas that can change the world. And so I'm out in every sector of society, in every industry, building a network, looking for extraordinary ideas. And I am very clear, like from day one, I'm like, every gathering we have, I guarantee you will not go hungry because I'm a Jewish mother. So right off the bat, I'm Jew. I'm going to take care of you. And everything I do, I always bring Torah into it because I'm constantly learning. Like I will talk, like I brought up this book and I talk ego. I'm like, you got to understand, when you're up on that stage, your ego, this comes from God. This is your gift. So I'm very unapologetic. And I am constantly looking for speakers for the TEDx stage. And what I'm looking for is for people who their message is their life's work, and that it's clear to me that it's not their ego speaking, it's their purpose speaking. And so I love being out in the world and, kind of having that, TEDx card in my back pocket. Like I randomly will talk to people, especially on the airplane, like, tell me your story. Da, da, da. And then I'm like, oh my God, you're amazing. I'm a TEDx curator. Ever thought of giving a TEDx talk? So it's super fun. And I feel very fortunate to kind of help these people birth their message out to the world. I really tell each person, I believe, you can start a movement. And so, I've most of the people who are on my stage are not Jewish. I've had, though, like an Orthodox Rebbitzin,
Wow.
Rochel Smoller talk about donating a kidney, like it was very clear. I loved it. It's like, if God wanted you to, like, why would God give you two kidneys if you only needed one? Because he wanted you to, give one away, right? I don't
Mm-hmm.
think the word God, because you're not supposed to have religion in any religion in a TEDx talk. So I'm very careful about that. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't bring necessarily Judaism into TEDx, but I lead as a Jew. I lead as a proud Jew. And the same thing when I was very fortunate to be the founding partner of Our Crowd, which is based in Jerusalem, which has raised well over $1 billion to invest in primarily Israeli startups. And I was the first person outside of John Medved's basement in the United States, running around from Sao Paulo, Brazil to Toronto, raising money. And at the beginning, it was only Jews. And then it slowly crept up to be more and more and more non-Jews who really wanted to invest in Israel, the startup nation. And I remember, David, the first $1 million check that I was handed. Like, somebody wanted to hand me $1 million check. They didn't want to wire the funds. Okay. Who was it? It was at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And it was the former finance minister of Austria. And he said, my family's heritage were Nazis, and we killed many, many Jews, and I want to make up for it. Well, I'm like, thank you, but this is a really good investment. I know, I know. So that was really powerful. But what was beautiful is I had the opportunity to speak all over the world talking about Israel as a startup nation. And it was all about being that full-time Jew. It was all about talking about, without saying that Israel, which is the Jewish homeland, that we all take a sense of responsibility, that everything we do is for all of humanity. I didn't say that. I just talked about what Israel does as a startup nation, about all the innovation it does to make the world a better place and a safer place and a healthier place and a faster technological space or what have you. So that was incredible. And over time, after doing that for many, many years and working Israel and California hours, 10-hour time difference,
Oh
traveling
my
50
gosh.
traveling
Oh my.
50% of the time. I mean, look, I miss it. It was the most incredible people in the world, and I'm so close with a lot of my Art Crowd family.
Right.
I moved to join Bernstein Private Wealth, as you mentioned, as a financial advisor,
Mm-hmm.
and most of my clients were not Jewish, but I always mention that the Torah says a Jew must treat his fellow's money as if it was his own. I would say that because I want them to know, like, I consider you my family, right? I consider, like, if I'm taking care of your money, I consider you my family. And I take that sense of responsibility. And I would always incorporate Torah wisdom into that and into my work as a financial advisor. And Bernstein Private Wealth is, like, of all the financial advisory firms, they stand above because of the ethics and values it was founded on by Stanford Bernstein, who then became Bernstein. He actually became observant and made Aliyah and left all of his money to Jewish organizations. But the whole foundation of this institution, which manages over like $700 billion, is really the sense of integrity, and it's based on those values. And so I felt very at home. When one of my articles on LinkedIn called Pack Your Values Suitcase, it talked about when I left Art Crowd to join Bernstein, it was all about my Jewish values and how they align. And so when you mentioned about being a writer, so I write for the LA Jewish Journal, but I also write a lot of articles on LinkedIn. And I seamlessly, unapologetically, as a full-time Jew, incorporate Torah wisdom into everything that I write, no matter what I'm writing about, because I truly believe that Jewish wisdom is universal wisdom because it's human wisdom. It's we created the ideas of right and wrong, whether or not you like the Ten Commandments, right? Morality. We're the Jews. We're chosen to think and think between right and wrong, and so Jewish wisdom is human wisdom, and so I love incorporating that into whatever I do in the business world or in the nonprofit TEDx world. So it's for me, it's like I'm still learning, and I'm going to be doing tour study until I die because we're lifelong learners, and it's so fascinating.
Wow, Audrey, that you just went through so many things that like I just want to go deeper into. But one thing that you mentioned was, I mean, common theme throughout there. One, obviously being a full-time Jew, but two, this idea of schmoozing. You talk about how you'd sit next to somebody on an airplane and start talking to them and stranger and connect them with somebody else. And you're so selfless in the sense that like, if you never, and I'm totally going to mess this quote up, but like, if you never saw that person again, at least you connected them with one other person. And that is like the most selfless act that you can really have, right? Because I'm a big believer that you are, at least for me, I'm 22. I have a lot of goals in mind. I'm like one connection away. I'm one phone call away. I'm one podcast episode away from hitting my goal. Always, right? Like there's always one more thing that you can be doing and that will happen to you that it's so powerful. So going back to this idea of schmoozing, right? Podcast name is Schmoozing Time. You're talking about TEDx and schmoozing with strangers. I got to ask you for a little schmoozing tip right here. Okay. So if you're sitting next to a stranger on an airplane, like, and again, this could vary by person or it could even be a different setting. You're at a cafe, you're, I don't know, at a conference, whatever it is. Like, how do you approach a stranger and schmooze with them? And I know that's a tough question because it differs on the situation, but walk me through kind of your thinking of how you would approach someone and schmooze with them.
Very easy. Two things. You will never forget this, David.
Okay.
You ready? You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Smile. And then you say, "Can I ask you a question?"
Is that easy?
That's it. That's it. And I can't tell you what question you're going to ask them because it'll come to you. But you just stop, you smile, and can I ask you a question? That's it. Because you ask people's permission to and let them invite you in.
Yeah, I honestly, I like to talk to people. The one thing that I'm really, really not good at is talking to a given stranger. Like that's something that like I'm just not good at. If I already have a relationship with you, I can schmooze all day, but like talking to a stranger, it's something that like I struggle with. So now that you told me that, I'm going to implement that and get back to you and see how well this works. And I'm excited to implement it.
Guarantee it. It always works.
Okay, guaranteed. Oh wow, Audrey. I mean, I think there's so much more we can go into, and the one of the I guess wrap up questions I want to ask you is going back to this idea of a full time Jew. Right? We've said it throughout the episode. You've brought it up. You've talked about being a full time Jew, what that means from a religious perspective, and combining that with the non-Jewish world that people exist in, right? Business, whatever it is you're doing. So you talk about this idea of promoting yourself as a full-time Jew, but the one caveat is you can't let your ego get involved in things, right? So when you're promoting yourself,
It's when you're saying when you're promoting yourself. Okay.
Yes. So when you're promoting yourself, right? And you're telling people how amazing it is to be a full-time and proud Jew and trying to get the ego, right? There's no ego in being a full-time Jew, but when you're promoting yourself.
This is a really good question, David, because I've actually been struggling with this. Remember, it's all you. Our conversation, what sparked this the concept of the full-time Jew. And
Right.
so I've been journaling on it, and I've been asking the question, okay, like already like an outline for a book is coming. Like it's all like even a second,
Wow.
it's all kind of flowing. And I keep writing in the journal, like, okay, God, is this ego, or can I actually help Jewish people feel a little bit Jewier, like 10% Jewier? Is this going to, I don't want to inspire people. I want to inspire people to take action. Just like with the TEDx talks that I produce, TEDx on its essence, its brand is ideas worth spreading. TEDx San Diego, the founder Jack Abbott, he kind of elevated that to ideas worth doing. So my own challenge with this branding around full-time Jew is, if I lean into it all the way that I can, right? And I left Bernstein after October 7th because I couldn't full-time anymore just work in finance. I now do behind the scenes. I have a consulting company, Mindful Maven Consulting, where I'm doing some major fundraising for different Jewish initiatives, working with major donors. That's where I spend most of my time. But this idea of like, do I lean into this full-time Jew, is I really have to decide, is it going to help other Jews? Is it going to make them feel more connected? Is it going to give them ways, that something that they can do that's easy, where they feel that much more connected to their people? They feel a sense of pride that they're, and so I'm playing with that, David. I'm going to have some Jewish focus groups, to kind of really talk to people, to, have a few Shabbat table discussions about this. Like, really, it's interesting. I was going to reach out to a woman named Tiffany Shalane. I read her book about, I think it was 2020 or 2019, called 24/6, right? And she is, big in the Webby Awards. She's a visionary producer and internet guru, and really does so much good in the world in so many different areas. And she married someone who was more Jewish, that was more traditional than her, that wanted to keep Shabbat. And she had to come to terms on her own, a way to keep Shabbat that had nothing to do with religion. She did not want to be religious. But what were the values of unplugging for 25 hours? What were the values of that, right? Of giving your mind a chance to rest, and all connecting with nature, creativity, connecting with loved ones, all those good things. And so her book was so powerful for me. And she still promotes that. She does so many other things that are in non-Jewish world. I was going to reach out to her. So Tiffany Shalane, I might send you this podcast. I want to talk to you about, should I do this? Should I do the full-time Jew? Should I lean into this? Will it really help other Jews in where it doesn't mean that, when you're scrolling on social media and you see all this Jewish stuff, like, you're what does it mean to be a Jew in a world right now where we're so aware that people hate us if we don't know why we love ourselves, right? If I can figure out a way to help other Jews love themselves as a Jew, as
Yes.
a full-time Jew,
Yes.
if I can crack that code, David, if I can, and I can really make an impact, then it's all in God's hands. I just right now I need to be quiet.
Yep.
And talk to people who know, and listen to others, listen to God, and we'll see what happens.
Like you said, the goal here is not, right. It's one thing to just say you're inspired, right? Sure. Like listening to a podcast episode with this podcast episode, you can be inspired, right? Sure. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do to take action, right? Does that mean that you're going to go put on tefillin? Does that mean that you're going to keep Shabbat? Does that mean you're going to learn Torah for 30 minutes, once a week, right? Like, doing something is what I think you and I are trying to accomplish too. Cause I know that I have the same mission, where I want people to be inspired, to be proud of who they are. Right.
All right.
And that
So what everybody can do, David, right now,
Yes.
right, for 3 minutes and $5, because the World Zionist Congress charges you $5, you go to aish.com/vote/Audrey Jacobs, aish.com/vote/Audrey Jacobs, and vote. And the World Zionist Congress, it costs that $5 will contribute to $1 billion for the Jewish people. And that's one thing that everybody can do. And please vote. And there's, and then reach out to me. You can reach out to me on social media, on Facebook, LinkedIn, on Instagram, or email me at audrey@tedxsandiego.com. And if you have ideas for me, and if you say, yeah, go for the full-time Jew thing, go all in, and you want to tell me why, I want to listen. And I want to thank you, David, for this opportunity to share and for the schmoozing time together.
Oh my goodness. Audrey, thank you for plugging yourself. I have to ask all of my guests to say, where can you find them after the episode? But you did it. I didn't even have to say anything like that. That is amazing. So, yep, she's got the business card, the TEDx card. Go vote for her, guys. Like, I don't know what you're doing not voting for Audrey for the World Zionist Congress. Like, what are you even thinking? Come on, go vote. It takes 3 minutes. It costs $5. Like, go do it. You probably spend $5 on your Starbucks anyway, which is garbage. So go stop your Starbucks for one day. Go vote for Audrey. That's it. And you're
go for Aisha. We're the 10th slate, number 10.
Aisha. Okay.
Yeah, go vote for Aish. We're out of all the slates, we're number 10. Thank you for your vote. Thank you for being a proud Jew. Thank you, David, for schmoozing time.
Audrey, all thanks goes to you. Make sure to also share this episode with someone so we get more people to vote for Audrey. Yes. Audrey's mom better not be the only person listening to this episode. Like, I listen, I'd be very happy if Audrey's mom listens to this episode, but I want more people to listen to this episode because more people we get, more people we likely inspire to do things and be more proud of who they are, leverage their brands, be more proud Jews. That's the mission at the end of the day. I'm so glad you enjoyed this week's episode of Schmoozing Time. Thank you so much for tuning in. In addition to sharing this episode with someone, make sure you follow on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube Shorts. Also, make sure you're following the show on Apple Podcasts and or Spotify. Until next time, keep schmoozing.